I'm Julie Bartke with Session Update. Lawmakers and environmental leaders announced on Wednesday a plan to require utility companies to implement a 10% solar renewable energy standard by the year 2030. That plan would also encourage manufacturing in the state to help grow jobs. Here's a portion of Wednesday's news conference.
You know, a lot of folks think, why are we doing solar in Minnesota? Minnesota's got cold weather, but we actually have as good of a solar resource as Jacksonville, Florida, or Houston, Texas. And cool weather actually helps PV perform better in this climate than in a hotter climate. I guess one other note to think, where does the public stand on this? We've polled on this time and time again, and the Minnesota Environmental Partnership just polled on it I think less than a month ago. Basically 74%, or 7 out of every 10 people in Minnesota, say they would like a 10% solar energy standard. They support that even with additional costs. They're not concerned about that at all. And if you look at the numbers across political demographics, Republicans, independents, all by a far majority favor this policy. So we think we're on good footing with the public. This is what the public wants. It's good for business. It's good for the environment. And I think it's time to move forward. And our projection is that it'll cost about 1% of current electricity rates to implement this policy. And at 1%, to put that into kind of perspective, Prairie Island and Monticello nuclear power plant upgrades, they're right now, Xcel is at the PUC asking for somewhere between an 8 to 9% increase rate, just to, you know, improve those, to keep those existing generation running. This would be 10% of our new generation for about 1%.
The aspirational goal is to go out 20 years, but honestly, we really are concerned that we have an industry that's firmly planted and in the ground in the next 5 to 10 years, or you know, what's going to happen in 20 years may not be that relevant. So the next few years we think are absolutely critical, and we're pretty confident that as people look at the job producing aspects of this, that the made in Minnesota components, the manufacturing, that there's going to be an enormous amount of enthusiasm and interest in moving not just the installation, but the development of manufacturing in our state.
Sometimes you have to ask, what's the cost of doing nothing? We're spending, as Ken just pointed out, $20 billion outside the state on energy. 10% of that's $2 billion. What's the economic impact of $2 billion more being spent in this state on energy? I think you have to remember that there's an opportunity cost to the status quo. So we think moving forward, investing in Minnesota jobs and Minnesota energy is a good thing for the state.
Senator Chris Eaton and Representative Will Morgan will sponsor the Solar Initiative legislation.